When Bruce Atkinson woke up one splendid summer morning, he discovered an irate wild koala on his porch. His decision to assist the distressed creature and the ensuing events will surely tug at your heartstrings. Bruce had spent the majority of his life in Apollo Bay, Victoria, Australia. Alongside his siblings, he cherished their formative years spent on the exquisite beaches during family vacations. As passionate fishermen from an early age, they reveled in the ocean's abundant offerings. Like many Australians, their residence was conveniently near the coastline, leading to frequent encounters with marine life. Their interactions with the typical Australian creatures, such as kangaroos or koalas, were quite uncommon. This changed when Bruce reached adulthood and decided to purchase a property slightly further inland. Regrettably, the real estate market had seen property prices soar since their parents' generation had acquired their homes. As a result, when Bruce and his wife embarked on their property search, they were compelled to explore areas farther from the coast to find more budget-friendly options. This adjustment in location, however, didn't dishearten them. Instead, they appreciated the tranquility of their new neighborhood. By trade, Bruce was a landscaper, and his job was something he was extremely passionate about. He worked on elaborate modern designs in people's yards as well as for other businesses. This meant that he spent long periods of time outdoors but also had flexible working hours. It allowed him to enjoy his fishing hobby with his brother Dave. His wife was an artist who spent most of her time in their backyard. Bruce had built her a studio where she could comfortably work, taking inspiration from the greenery around them. When Bruce would get home, she would often recount sightings of koalas that lazed around in the surrounding trees, but Bruce had yet to see them with his own eyes. He sometimes wondered whether she was seeing them correctly. The couple also had a beautiful cattle dog named Sarah. She was a formidable force to be reckoned with and loved her backyard vehemently. Bruce thought she was the reason why they hadn't encountered much wildlife, as Sarah would never let them roam around. She would chase them away at the first opportunity she could get. However, because of Bruce's profession, he had many encounters with wild animals, especially snakes. Naturally, they would pop up when he was clearing a yard with his employees. If not a snake, it would be a spider of sorts. It wasn't very common for him to come across larger animals like koalas or kangaroos. He had on occasion seen them from afar but never really up close. While most people around the world absolutely adore koalas, most Australians will tell you that they're not the nicest animals around. They can be friendly, but they can also act like little brats filled with attitude. So Bruce wasn't necessarily upset about his lack of interaction with the animal. He was more of a beach boy when it came to interacting with animals. Whenever he wasn't working on his landscaping projects, he would be at the beach, either diving for leisure or going out on his boat to fish. It was here that he first found himself offering aid to an animal. He never really thought of himself as much of an animal rescuer, but the occasions just seemed to keep rearing their head. The first time he came across a turtle caught up in a fishing line, the poor animal was struggling to move in the water properly. Without hesitation, Bruce jumped in and began to cut away the line as best he could. His actions ultimately freed the turtle, which swam away gracefully. After that first encounter, Bruce couldn't help but feel extremely happy. He was grateful that he had been able to help the suffering animal in some way. From then on, however, it seemed that he would attract animals to his boat whenever they were in need of help. He had a seagull that had heard its wing land on his boat, and even a dolphin that had a cut on its side bump into him. He always tried to help the animals in any way he could, even if that meant just calming them down and disinfecting whatever wound they may have had. Sometimes just a small bowl of water or a morsel of food would help make the whole situation much better. While the animals mostly seemed grateful for his help, they never really showed much emotion when thanking him. In fact, they weren't very cuddly in their approach in general, but that suited Bruce just fine. After all, he just wanted to make sure they were okay and didn't expect too much on the emotional side of it all. That is until one day he was approached by an animal he didn't really expect, and that changed his whole perspective on interacting with animals. A terrible storm had blown through the Bay Area the night before. It had been so bad that Bruce and his wife had to block the windows to prevent any debris from flying in. They had bunkered down for the night with Sarah and prayed that there wouldn't be too much flooding from the nearby river. The next morning, when Bruce awoke, he was ecstatic to find the weather extremely beautiful. It looked as though it was going to be the perfect summer's day, so he unblocked the windows and rang his brother Dave to see if he would be interested in going fishing. Dave was in immediately, and Bruce began to get ready to leave the house. His wife and Sarah were quite happy snuggled in bed, so he let them be. He quickly made his way down to the kitchen to make himself a cup of coffee, but as he passed the front door, he heard a peculiar sound from outside. At first, he thought he had simply heard something that wasn't there because when he stopped to listen, he heard nothing. So he continued on to the kitchen, but as he entered the room, he heard the strange noise once again. Now, too curious to leave it unattended, he decided to investigate. Little did he realize what he was about to stumble across. Grabbing his house keys, he went to the front door and slowly unlocked it, opening it gently, unsure of what he would face on the other side. Bruce took a deep, tentative breath. What he found facing him gave him quite a fright. On the porch, a muddy and leaf-covered bundle initially perplexed Bruce. However, as it inched closer, he recognized it. A koala. The creature was caked in mud and bristling with numerous prickles clinging to its fur. Though the koala displayed aggression, emitting low growls whenever Bruce approached, he knew immediate action was required. Bruce called his wife for assistance and fetched a bowl of water for the distressed animal. To his surprise, the koala tipped the bowl and growled even more. Perplexed, Bruce awaited his wife's arrival. She deduced that the koala likely fell from a tree during the previous night's storm, causing its discomfort from the prickles. Bruce, determined to help, gently swathed the koala in a towel and painstakingly removed the prickles. Initially, the koala put up resistance, but then, as if a sudden realization had dawned upon it, it stopped resisting. It was as though it had finally comprehended Bruce's benevolent intentions, and what unfolded next warmed Bruce's heart. The koala gradually settled into his lap while he carefully removed every thorn and prickle he could find. The subdued groans of the koala gradually transformed into a contented, almost joyful sound. It was evident that the koala was receiving the assistance it desperately needed, and as it grew more at ease, it became increasingly affectionate towards Bruce. The creature seemed deeply moved by the help it was receiving, and Bruce couldn't help but share in its emotions. After completing the gentle cleanup, Bruce offered the koala water once more. This time, the koala eagerly drank and then made its way back into the garden. Bruce followed and carefully placed it by a tree just beyond the yard. It was a touching encounter that left him brimming with love and gratitude for terrestrial animals. Truly a heartwarming tale. What would be your reaction after finding a koala on your porch? Let us know in the comments section. Thank you.